I talk to potential clients almost every day who come to me and tell me about how their case was denied or their loved one was arrested by ICE. And the truth is that in a lot of these cases, these problems could have been completely avoided if they had worked with a lawyer from the beginning. Presenting your case in the best possible way can be the difference between a green card, an ICE detention, and even deportation in the most extreme cases. Hi, I'm Will McNamara, and this is Immigration Online, presented by McNamara Law Office, an immigration law firm where I'm also the owner. I work every day to help individuals and families obtain immigration benefits like visas, green cards, and even US citizenship. If you're interested in learning more about US immigration law, be sure to hit the subscribe button down at the bottom. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about how to find and hire a reputable immigration lawyer. The information I'm about to provide is for general education purposes only and is not to be taken as personalized legal advice. I'm a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. If you need personal advice, click on the link in my bio to schedule an immigration strategy session. Or you can follow the steps I'm about to outline in this video to make sure you have the best possible legal representation for your case. While it's possible to do your own research and navigate the US immigration system on your own, I really wouldn't recommend it to the majority of people. The classic example I like to use is hiring an auto mechanic. You may be able to change your own oil, but if you need to have your radiator replaced, then you should probably speak to a professional. It works the same way in immigration. There are certain things that are pretty simple, but there are other things that are more complex, and even a small mistake early on could cause big problems down the line. In fact, non-detained immigrants who were represented by a lawyer were almost 5 times more likely to be granted relief in immigration court compared to people without a lawyer. And that's according to one report from the American Immigration Council. Hiring the right lawyer simplifies the process. It gives you access to a dedicated advocate who will help guide you in your journey, ensuring you have the best chance at receiving a favorable outcome. But how do you know who to trust? That's the main question I want to answer here in this video. I'm going to give you the tools you need to find a lawyer and evaluate if that's the person you want to trust with your immigration case. We'll go over what you need to know before beginning, how to start your search the right way, and finally we'll talk about some red flags that you need to look out for. Let's start with the basics. Immigration law covers many areas, but is typically broken down into 3 types. First, there's family-based immigration. This is your marriage cases, fiancé visas, and family sponsorships. Next, there's also business immigration, which includes company sponsorships and employee visas. Lastly, there's deportation defense in immigration court. Family-based immigration is by far the most common, and the majority of immigration law firms handle family-based cases. Business immigration and deportation defense are more specialized. Lots of firms will accept all types of cases, but not every firm. You definitely want to take a look at the firm's website before scheduling a consultation to make sure they do the type of immigration law that you need for your case. From the beginning, you also need to be aware that scams targeting immigrants are extremely common. And frankly, there are a lot of immigration attorneys who are ineffective. So it's important to research at least a couple of different options from the beginning. I'll briefly mention that attorney and lawyer mean the same thing. Attorney is just a bit more formal, but that's the only difference. However, you should never hire somebody who calls themselves an immigration consultant or immigration form preparer or anything like that. In the US, only an immigration attorney or an accredited representative who works under the supervision of an attorney can represent you before immigration court or USCIS, which is the Federal Immigration Benefits Agency. Likewise, in Spanish, a notario público is like an attorney, but that's not the same in English. In fact, in the immigration context, the word notario is commonly used to describe an immigration scammer. Scammers, notarios, and sketchy lawyers will try to take advantage of your excitement and your anxieties and your lack of knowledge to extort you for potentially thousands of dollars. This is more common than you might think. I've spoken with many clients who have come to me to fix their case after somebody else seriously messed it up. And there can be real consequences. I've seen clients who have great cases, but have just gone down the wrong path from the beginning and made it much more complicated. So it's worth paying attention to these titles from the beginning. And if you have been taken advantage of by a notario, go to stopnotariofraud.org for a list of agencies that can help. The best way to find a credible immigration attorney is either through a trusted directory like the American Immigration Lawyers Association, known as AILA. You can also contact local community organizations such as Remain in Colorado, or of course, a personal referral. Links for everything that I've just discussed are down in the description. So how do you know for certain that the person you're talking to is a licensed attorney? Well, the easiest way is to check their state bar. This will tell you both that they are who they say they are, but also whether or not they're in good standing. Every state is different and navigating the various sites can be a little tricky. So I'm going to use myself as an example and show you what that process looks like in Colorado. Okay, first I'm going to the state of Colorado's Office of Attorney Regulation website. Every state will have a similar website. Now I'm using the attorney search tool and typing in my name. Here you can see my basic information, including that I do carry insurance and that I do not have any disciplinary history. Importantly, you can also see that I am indeed an attorney licensed to practice in Colorado. In the US, immigration law is federal law, so a licensed attorney from any state can practice immigration law. However, state law is still important, especially when it comes to criminal convictions. So for someone who has been arrested, it can be helpful to have a lawyer licensed in the same state. Membership in AILA is another good sign. It's the most common bar association for immigration lawyers. While this is not totally required, most credible immigration lawyers are members. You can search for an AILA lawyer using the link in the description for the AILA attorney search. Once you've found a couple lawyers you think might be a good fit, it's time to schedule some consultations. These initial consultations are crucial for getting a better understanding of your case and also to gauge whether or not this is somebody you want to hire. It pays to keep a short list of 2 or 3 other immigration lawyers that you're interested in, just in case the first one doesn't work out. If you've already vetted your list of lawyers based on the criteria we've just discussed, then you're already way ahead of the curve. Initial consultations typically cost between $100 and $200 or more in 2026, so this is an important step and it pays to come prepared. Generally speaking, I would never advise somebody to hire an attorney who offers free consultations. The best attorney's time is valuable, and it's an industry standard to charge for initial consultation. So, choose wisely and make sure you're prepared for the consultation as well. This includes making sure you have all your relevant documents, especially anything you've received from immigration, like your visa or any letters or communications you may have received. The lawyer will typically send you a questionnaire ahead of time as well. And this can also help you make the most of your time with the lawyer by filling out that questionnaire ahead of the meeting. You should also have some questions prepared for the lawyer ahead of time, such as, how long have you practiced immigration law? Have you handled cases like mine before? What's your honest assessment of my case? And what are your fees and billing structure, of course. I'll briefly mention that immigration lawyers do not typically advertise their fees on their website. This is normal and due to multiple reasons, such as professional regulations and the complex and sometimes unpredictable nature of legal work. Some lawyers bill by the hour, others charge a flat rate, which is more common in immigration law. However, you should absolutely get an estimate for your case from the lawyer at the initial consultation. Going back to initial consultations in general, it's important to listen carefully to what the lawyer has to say. There's a lot of misinformation about the immigration process online, and this is your opportunity to get specific answers directly from a professional before you sign a big contract. Pay attention to not just what they say, but how they say it. Honesty and clarity are signs of a good lawyer. Many times one consultation is enough, but don't be afraid to look for a second opinion. If you shop around too much though, odds are you'll eventually find someone who's just going to tell you whatever you want to hear. It's a lawyer's job to help their clients, and this sometimes means being realistic about their case and their chances of success. If multiple lawyers are hesitant about taking on your case, you may want to reflect on why that is. It may be a difference in strategy or something else. So that's why it's important to be prepared for the initial consultation, have your questions and research laid out ahead of time. Next, I want to highlight some red flags that you should look out for when hiring an immigration lawyer. Red flag number 1, guarantees of success. Anyone claiming 100% visa approval or application approval is probably not being honest to a certain extent. Some applications do have a high likelihood of success, but it all depends on the individual case. And the reality is that immigration decisions are always in the hands of the government. The right lawyer can make a big difference and greatly improve the likelihood of success, but no one can guarantee an outcome. Red flag number 2, pressure tactics. This may be your first legal consultation, but it likely isn't the lawyer's. And some attorneys are honestly better salespeople than they are at practicing law. There's a lot of important deadlines when it comes to immigration cases, and time constraints can be very real. However, you need to be on the lookout for these pressure tactics to sign up immediately or make a large payment right away, as these are common tactics applied by scammers. I frequently tell prospective clients to speak with their family after the consultation if they need to. I'll also frequently give clients a deadline to decide if there is a time constraint. For example, if your deadline is coming up in 2 months, I may need a hiring decision at least a month in advance to make sure I have the time to prepare your case adequately. But sometimes we do need to act right away. So it all depends and you need to use your judgment here. Red flag number 3, poor communication. If your lawyer seems distracted during your meeting, that's a bad sign. Your lawyer should always make you feel heard and help you understand the various issues related to your case. Immigration law is complex, and you might not understand everything right away, and that's okay. But you should leave the initial consultation feeling more knowledgeable and more empowered, not more confused. And red flag number 4, no written agreement. Credible immigration lawyers will always start a case with a written contract signed by both parties. That's you and the lawyer. They should also make sure that you have a copy of the contract as well for your own records. And make sure that they give you ample time to read and ask questions about the contract if you need to. And there you have it, a step-by-step guide to hiring an immigration attorney. I hope this guide has been helpful and given you a good framework for making this important decision. After all, it is much more difficult and expensive to change attorneys partway through a case than to pick a good one from the very beginning. Doing this research and reflection ahead of time should make the rest of the immigration process much easier. To quote a favorite author of mine, Ken Follett, the most expensive part of building is the mistakes. If you found this video useful, be sure to like and subscribe. For more information, check out my blog at iol.law/blog. And if you or someone you know needs an immigration attorney, go to iol.law/booking to schedule a consultation. Links for all that down below. If I forgot something or you just liked the video, be sure to leave me a comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching and take care.